Are they bad at your house? Because like it's
Um,
it's disgusting here.
I feel like I have been seeing more of them. Yeah.
It's weird because like year to year this happens, and they're like they collect in like all corners of the room. But the second you turn the light on, they're just swarming all over the place, and there's like hundreds of them. I legitimately, before I came down here, I sucked up hundreds of ladybugs with the vacuum. So
That's
now they're all just
insane.
flying around inside the vacuum canister. I just
Yeah.
have to wait till they die.
They
It's
haven't made it inside, but I've seen a bunch just out and around.
they're fucking disgusting, and I can't deal with it. They smell bad, and like, ugh.
Yeah.
You get that one ladybug on your finger, and you got to blow it off to make a wish, right? And then
Then there's 30,000 of them, and
inside of your house, and they're obviously coming through like the air conditioners that I haven't removed from the windows yet. So
because it's still like 80 plus degrees in
yeah,
October.
yeah, yeah. What the fuck, dude? 85 degrees today at Lucas's game, and he played on turf.
Yikes.
Gross, gross. Anyway, how about we record this podcast?
Let's do it.
Alrighty.
What time is it?
It's time for Wicked Spursy.
Hey, this is Wicked Spursy, Mike and Steve today coming at you. Mike, how are you doing on this unusually warm October evening?
Dude, I'm flying. I'm flying high, man. Both my teams won. Both my teams won this weekend.
Yeah, what's
Commanders
that like?
Commanders just went to LA and put on a pitiful first quarter performance, and then dominated the rest of the game. Yeah, and then we're also here to talk about the Tottenham Hotspur Football Club.
That is
So
true.
yeah, everything's coming up, Mike, except for obviously my ladybug issue. So
Well, not much you can do about the ladybugs. You don't speak their language, and frankly, even if you did, I don't think they'd listen to you. Not your demographic.
definitely not my demographic. Steve, we missed you last week. How you doing, man?
I am living the dream.
Living the dream. Are you caught up on sleep and all of that? Because I know you had a sick little guy.
Yeah, I'm mostly caught up on the sleep side of things, but the way the weather's been has just been ravaging everybody. It seems, myself included. But like kiddo was at his first ever martial arts class yesterday,
Oh,
and
cool. Yeah.
Sensei there was saying, usually it's a packed house, full classes, but they only had, I think, 6 kids there. Most of them, out sick, can't make it, and it's relatively early in the school year, so it's probably about that time everybody starts getting sick anyway, which is just not ideal. But he's been home with me for the last 4 days. They had Yom Kippur off of school,
Yep.
and then in service, and then it's the weekend. So we've had fun trying to, find different ways of being entertained. I think martial arts was a great idea. It certainly helped us out a little bit. And yeah, it looks like with the way things are going, it's going to be a pretty busy winter over here between, because he wants to do indoor soccer. Then he's got hockey he signed up for. Now he wants to do martial arts some more. So
No, is
that
he going
means,
to do indoor at Far Post?
yeah, I think so.
Oh,
Yeah.
excellent. That'll be cool.
Yeah. So we've got that to look forward to. And it's all on, different days. So it'll be a little bit of everything to keep ourselves busy when it's, well, who knows if it's even going to freeze at this point. It feels like summer doesn't want to end.
We could, yeah, I know. We could end up with one of those ones that like winter, doesn't show up until December, and then we get a deep freeze for like 3 months straight, right? Who fucking knows,
Yeah,
man?
pretty much. But we don't have to worry about a frozen North London because Tottenham Hotspur did something that they haven't done in quite a while. They won a game going into an international break. Can you believe it?
That's the big talking point right now, isn't it? I mean, when something like that is a big talking point, you've been seriously fucking unlucky going into international breaks. I saw that and I was like, holy shit, that's crazy. That like it's been a long time.
Yeah, it's and it probably feels even longer than it actually is, simply because of the fact that typically the performances are anemic, which makes it feel like every game is 2, 3, 4 games longer than it actually is. But that's not something that we necessarily saw this week. I mean, you could argue that the midweek fixture was a bit anemic, but even then, we battled back and managed to get something there thanks to our absolute stud. Paulinho is just an incredible player. But yeah, the game yesterday was, I don't even know how to describe it. It was one of those where I thought we would get more than two, but I'm very happy at the same time that the two goal scorers were who they were, right? I think Kudus definitely deserved it, given his absolutely impeccable start to the season. And I think the kid works hard. He gets a lot of hate in social media, and we got to remember he's a young kid. He's still trying to get a handle on the pace of the league, and it can do a lot for your confidence, especially when you're, kind of spotlighted as this up and coming superstar, right? You're going to be this incredible player. You've got all these positive accolades coming at you, and you don't quite hit those highs. The criticism hits that much more, I think. So for him to finally get that goal, well deserved. I'm super happy for him. Wish we could have kept the clean sheet, but I'll take what we can get at this point. We don't typically win games going into international break, and we finally bucked that trend. So.
And you know what other trend we bucked? In unfortunate for Leeds, I would say, is that they haven't lost at home in a year, over a year. So I mean, when
that's the other thing to consider, right? Like I think people will it's Leeds, whatever. But they've had a really solid run, and there's a mentality aspect. I think we're all familiar with it. We talk about the mentality behind the game quite a bit. And in this case, they had the mentality working for them. You could tell based on how they started the game, right? But we still managed to overcome that. So it was great.
Yeah. I think, when we talk about this game, I think that there's a couple of things. It's, margins and momentum, right? Slim tactical margins. And actually even like when you're looking at both of those goals, it's goal scoring margins too, right? And momentum swings in this game. Like I said, Leeds hadn't lost at home in like a fucking year. They came right out of the bat, right out of the gates, pressing high. They were full of energy. And like they really suffocated and snuffed out Spurs buildup. Obviously, our buildup game hasn't been, the best going into this game. But obviously, like I think that the thing we talk about with Frank is that we have we set up with like a clear plan going into it, and we're able to adjust to different factors on the field as they come at us. It's not, and again, I hate to harp on this, but it's not a situation where he's saying that's the way we play, mate. That's who we are. The clear plan going in was to absorb pressure, exploit like transitions, and to trust our creative players, especially our wingers, like talking about Mo Kudus and Wilson Odebear.
Another young guy, by the way.
Yeah, right. I mean, and then you look at our midfield, okay?
Which is, again, when our most creative player is a young guy, Lucas Bergvall, right now.
Well, right, and Lucas did not get the start here, right? We had Xavi, and then we had that double pivot that you love so much.
Winks and Sissoko
out there, Bentancur and João Palhinha. Obviously they anchored the midfield, right, pretty well. But it when you have to rely on those two guys in a double pivot, then it kind of, like I said, snuffs out that creative side to the players that you have, in the front. So like you drop a lot of responsibility on a guy like Lucas Bergvall and a guy like Xavi Simons, like
who, by the way, had some immaculate passes, some absolutely unreal. I mean,
you can see he's really playing into the game. Like he's really starting to learn a little bit. I think he had probably his best output of the season so far for us.
Yeah, there's a learning opportunity for sure. There were some plays where maybe he overthought it or tried to do a little bit too much, but then, man, he had one just insane chip over the defense that was like, that's the sort of thing that you want to see when you've got a team that's kind of sat back so much. You need to have some kind of a creative way to get through their line and get behind the defense, and he did that. It didn't end up coming to anything, but just the fact that he had the audacity to try it, I think is huge.
Yeah, I mean, you did see that a lot in that second half. I think right off the bat, though, I think that Leeds pressing, like they're pressing up into that double pivot, creating an issue. I think from what I noticed on the watch back, I was pretty fucking annoyed watching the game because I was texting you constantly, but it seemed like he was instructed to start dropping back a bit to kind of help that double pivot and to move the ball through, to be able to move the ball through there. What that does is kind of it pulls at least one or two other Leeds midfielders like out of shape, right? So that that opens shit up for the players, like to exploit like the half spaces and stuff like Kudus does, and like Odebear did. Actually, I thought Odebear had a pretty good game too for the most part, even though you didn't hear his name a lot. He was causing issues on that wing.
He's
allowing that other side to open up.
And honestly, I think between him and Destiny, there's a lot there going forward that is positive, right? I'm not going to go so far as to say impressive, because there's definitely more to go from the left side, but there were great ideas there, great runs. A couple of times where I thought, they cut inside and I thought maybe they should have played in the overlap. But, again, it's they're Odebear in particular. He's a kid. A lot of these guys are trying to get used to playing with each other, right? Like you didn't really see Odebear's name in the team sheet all that much last season, right?
Right.
He was injured for a while. So he's got to get a familiarity with the team. And then you've got, Thomas Frank coming in, new system, and he is a tactician who tends to make tiny little tweaks. So I do think that there's a learning curve that is still a work in progress, but when it works, it looks great. It's just that there are times I think you can tell the way the squad plays, where they're not entirely sure what they should be doing. And you can see that in the way that a lot of the players in the midfield in particular end up being static a lot of the time. Nobody's really moving to show for the ball. And that's where the press gets you, because all of a sudden you've got, and I'm only picking on him because he was the forward. You've got Tell, who's not exactly your hold up forward, right? He's not going to hold the ball and draw people in. But if he has the ball and nobody is making an effort to get open for a pass, he's going to lose that ball.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that, when you have, there's a lot of players. Let's talk about like the equalizer, right? Because I think that the goal that was scored by Tell, right? I mean, a lot of work by Kudus there, right? But Tell had that last nice little move that got him just enough space to get the ball, to get a shot off that like deflects off strike, right? Which, by the way, I kind of like that player. I like Pascal Strike. I think he's a good player. But like, then you see like again that momentum shift where Spurs just like take their foot off the gas a little bit, obviously, right? Leeds just kind of kept their foot down. Brennan Aronson comes down. He forces a save that, like, on the backside. Who was it? Was it Destiny who lost his man on that?
Yeah,
Okafor kind of just tucked the ball in off of a rebound.
Yeah.
Because the first save on Aronson's shot was from Vicario was phenomenal. This guy is, in terms of shot blocking, is having a season, right? But when you look at that equalizer, was it more of like a structural breakdown, you think, or was it just like a lot of like second ball chaos or ball watching? I mean, where do you go with that? Because I was really fucking pissed. Oops.
And I mean, I don't blame you. It's one of those where I don't necessarily know that it was ball watching, or to me it looks like they hadn't sorted out who should be marking who, because you look at them, right? Rodin versus Destiny, there's a clear height difference there. You should not be putting Destiny on somebody like that, right? That's where you want, like, Mickey would be a much better option. But they hadn't played it that way. And I think even if Destiny was 100% man-to-man on him there, it wouldn't have made a difference, because he's just got the size advantage, right? He would have easily been able to get up and hit that header, regardless of what was happening around him. It's I don't know. I feel like it's emblematic of a lot of our defensive plays so far this season, where they're doing it much more zonal, it looks like, and there's just not that great communication. It's difficult. I think Romero actually does solve a lot of the problems in terms of communicating from the defense. It was certainly night and day between Tuesday and Saturday, right, in terms of how the defense was organized. But he's also just, one guy there, and he can't see it all. He's not looking at the aerial view. He's not looking at, every single runner. He's trying his best to keep people organized in whatever defensive shape they need to be.
Sure.
But it's also not unique, right? We've seen this over and over again, regardless of the manager, regardless of the players, with just the Spurs, for whatever reason, on set plays, they're just not always clicked on. And I think that was an instance where they were not clicked on. I don't think it would have mattered if they were, given, again, how they were set up, but it's kind of embarrassing, I think, when you look at, because I was thinking about it this way, right? We had a free kick that we were lining up on the edge of the Leeds box, and I remember looking at it and going, well, we're not going to threaten at all. we got it on goal, which, is better than I thought we would do, but I wasn't feeling like we were going to threaten from a direct free kick. Anytime there's a set play on the other side, I'm nervous as hell. I just have not felt comfortable with Spurs defending set plays since maybe Vertonghen and Toby. That's probably the last time. And even then it was questionable.
Right. I mean, I think the problem with this one situation, this one goal. I mean, because they had a lot of other opportunities to score goals that weren't necessarily offset pieces. But I think in this case, like what I saw was that kind of Paulinho kind of steps too high, in that area where a rebound can come off. Like it's just completely vacant. There's nobody there, so it allows somebody to sneak into the back post and just kind of tuck it in neatly. It was really like a U12 goal, sometimes you see in U12, like you see those crosses come in, or like a corner comes in and the ball just scoots completely through the box and nobody touches it, and then somebody at the backside is just like there, right? I think that kind of happens. And it just we didn't tuck in enough to cover that one small zone. And I think when you have a right back there, or you have Paulinho kind of jumping up a little too high, it just allows that space to happen. And those type of like those little small rotations are what Frank's probably going to want to figure out and tighten. And the good thing is that like Frank does absolutely care about set pieces in a way that our previous manager did not care about set pieces.
Yeah, and to be clear, a lot of the examples that I'm talking about, not necessarily that goal, but I'm thinking more, when he got lost on that back post header that, hit the crossbar.
The Rodon shot.
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right about the goal. It was something out of U12, but it's, there's consistent examples, I think, where we just end up gifting the opposition shots, crossing opportunities, whatever it might be, because of, poor set piece defending. We're much better at it now than we have been, but, we were also god awful trash for, quite a while there. So it's not exactly a high bar that we're jumping over. But it is something I think Frank is going to want to think about over the international break. Absolutely.
All right. So we get in the second half. I felt like the second half, and here we are again. Another situation where we're looking at a team that is better in the second half or better in the first half. Like we're a single half team. Let's not we can put a shine on this pig if we want to, but let's not get too high on ourselves here, because it wasn't a beautiful game. It was kind of a gritty, really gutsy performance, I think, by Spurs for the most part. I think, but we did look sharper in the second half. I think that we burned them out a little bit. They did a lot of work in the first half that nothing really came to fruition. I mean, their XG, we lost on XG. They had like a 1.5 to our like 1.01, but like, I think that like when Kudus gets that ball and scores, I mean, the message is clear at that point, right? We're going to drop back and we're going to defend. And if we get possession, if we want to press forward, we can. But we drop back into something that kind of looks like a deep five, right?
Which
like a 5-4-1
when we got Donzo on.
Right, yeah, and that's what always happens. You bringing good old Kev on. I think a little bit of what happened too was like, which is weird to say, but Leeds couldn't cope with the fucking downpour that happened. That 20-minute downpour,
Yeah,
which is when we scored that second goal. It like all of a sudden they just kind of fell apart right when that downpour happened. I don't know if that has anything to do with anything because it always fucking rains in England. It's sunny
yeah,
for
you
the
would think that they'd be used to it, but yeah, and people might criticize, oh, he's parking the bus, we're playing negative, but you want to win the game, right? This isn't Ange ball. We're not leaving ourselves wide open to get absolutely decimated. Chasing after something that we don't need to chase after. I do think bringing Kevin Danzo on was a great decision to help shore the game up and see things out. But for me, I think one of the most understated aspects of what we're seeing in the early season is just how much rotation we're getting within the squad, right? We have players. Oh, you've played 2-3 games in a row. You're going to sit out. We'll have Spence come in for Poro. Destiny can play on the right. Destiny can sit the next game. We'll put Spence on the left and Poro can start. Okay, now Spence can drop. And then, so we're getting a lot of that rotation. Bergvall got to sit so Xavi could play. Bergvall played, the other day. So we're fine there. We've got, Johnson is getting his minutes like I thought he would in some of these extra competitions. So nobody is left to really sit. I mean, I would like to see Kinski. I think he's only had the one appearance so far. We might see him again, in a cup competition after the international break. But I mean, barring goalkeeper, you're seeing a lot of rotation across those positions. Richarlison getting a rest and getting Tell up front is certainly great. I think Kudos is probably the one spot where, he probably plays way more than he maybe needs to, but
or should, yeah.
But you know what? He shows up and he performs there, and he still got a rest, right? We still saw Johnson start over him. So it's not like he's going to be running to the ground like we saw last season with players being abused until their hamstrings gave out, and then we don't know if they're ever going to see the light of day again. We actually get these guys a little bit of a break, and it's great for them. It lets them get their rest, but it also means that other guys understand, hey, as long as I show up and perform, I'm going to get a chance to prove that I deserve to be the starter, right? Take it or
Because
not.
that's the way that Frank coaches, right? You perform in practice, you play. You perform in the
Yeah.
field, you play.
Absolutely.
Because you get rewarded for the work that you do, and I think that is the hallmark of a really, really good coach, right? You don't just put guys on the field because they're quote unquote undroppable, or because of who they are, what their name is, how much they get paid. It's all a merit-based system where they get to play based on how they perform in practice and how they take instruction on the field during games and stuff. So let's just spotlight a few names here. We've been talking about Mo Kudus. Like, he had a goal, he had an assist. He was a constant vertical threat. I think he's really, and you alluded to it too, he's kind of becoming that bridge between the midfield control and the forward, the punch, right? Tell really, for me, after the performance in the League Cup, where he fluffed a couple and didn't connect on a goal that was a sure goal. He made really intelligent runs. He was pressing tirelessly. He wasn't he didn't press like a Solanke presses. I mean, he's still raw, but his movement, the way that he moves in and around the box while not being a hold up player, I think it causes a bit of chaos, and I think that's something we're missing. In Xavi, like he's gonna do some shit that infuriates you, I think, during the season. He had a lot of flashes, like brilliant flashes of play, right? Except he tried a Rabona pass.
Yeah, that was
just didn't really come off.
That was rough to watch. I bet it was even worse on the watch back.
Oh yeah, it really was. I mean, I think I mentioned it in the chat. I was a little upset. But obviously he's still learning, he's still learning. He's going to learn when to simplify his game versus kind of having to dictate the possession and the play. He just had so many flashes of brilliance with the way that he passes. And moves around after the pass, like his off-ball work. After the pass was phenomenal. So I guess what I'm asking, here is like, do you think that we kind of have, without someone like a Solanke, without Richarlison being at his best, and without a Kolomwani there, right? Do we have maybe a little bit more dynamic front four balance than we would have, like through Simons, Tell, Kudus, Odobert? Do we have a little bit of that balance and those guys who are going to be, some of them role players or rotation options, or are we still seeing like a lot of growing pains? I mean, is it improving?
Yeah, I
Like
think we're
chemistry
still
wise?
seeing growing pains personally. And I think it's going to be that way for a little while. Tell's one of these guys who, if we had any other option, he probably, sits and plays a cup game here, a cup game there. But, he's being forced out. And like I mentioned, right, he has been, he's had the spotlight on him for a while for a young kid. And it can be very difficult to cope with that mentality when you're not performing at the level that's expected. So I think in a perfect world, Thomas Frank would want to protect him a little bit more, but we don't have that luxury. And you know what? If he shows up and shows that he deserves to be there, he's going to play, which I appreciate about Frank right now. He just has a really great way of kind of shielding the players and giving them their support, and I think it's going to pay off in the long run. The one area that is going to be a concern is going to be that left wing, right? Because I think Odobert performs well there, and that's it. Xavi doesn't really do it as well as Odobert. He's much better centrally, and Johnson is just a non-factor there. He pops up with the occasional goal, but outside of tapping it in from the far post, there's nothing there.
Well, there's the thing that yeah, and I feel bad for Johnson because he does score goals. This is not the system for him to play in. I
does.
think
Yeah,
this is not the system for him to play in because the system that Frank employs, like the base system, relies on everybody tracking back and playing defense. It does. It just does. And Johnson doesn't do that. That's not his game. That's not his game. And it's not, that doesn't mean that Johnson's a bad player. It's like Sergio Reguilon, who's just got signed by Inter Miami. He's going to be playing with Messi. Can you freaking imagine? Like it's just
Failing
like
forward,
he could
right?
be, yeah, Sergio Reguilon could be a good player. It's just like he didn't find a system that was his game. He might find that in Miami. I think he actually will find that in Miami, but we're not having a podcast about Sergio Reguilon.
Or Miami for that matter.
Or Miami. What I really loved about this game, and we can move on after this, but what I really loved about this game is that like the control is kind of still developing. Like we're still new under this manager. Remember, we thought we were going to win the league after the first 10 games under Ange.
Feels like
We don't have those. We don't have those expectations now.
Yeah, how's he doing these days?
Oof. Not the best. Not the best.
Yeah, I that's a whole other conversation, but yikes.
They have players over there, and I think he's going to get that team relegated. So our control is still developing, but we have some real resilience, man. I think and I see this in like, in my American football teams too, is that like the ability to bend without breaking is kind of a hallmark, right? That that actually can win games, right? Bend but don't break defense is the way you win games. So obviously this was, like I said, this was about mentality. This was about winning on the margins. Uh, I love a team that wins like dirty, right? Like you don't have to dominate and be beautiful and be, you know, 2022 Man City, right? You don't have to be Barcelona, of the late 90s and early 2000s, right? Um, you just you can win, win dirty and win being gritty. And I think that more than like any tactical evolution might be the biggest sign of growth for this team, and it kind of warms my heart, even though I think I said in the chat I hate this fucking team. Um, at one point when they equalized, obviously that's me maybe having an early morning hot toddy, or it could be just me being immediately angry when I woke up because it was too goddamn early in the morning. Who knows? But like I love a team. Like I remember like the 2004 Red Sox were the dirt dogs, right? They're that team that it was never flashy, it was never brilliant, but what it was winning nasty, winning dirty, and winning and coming back and winning, or coming back from when you're facing adversity and pushing on through.
Yeah, and you know what? Speaking of grit, hey Mike, what you drinking?
I got a full mouth. You know what, Steve? I love when you ask that.
Mouthful of grit.
I had a mouthful of Yingling at the time, traditional lager. But that's not what we're drinking tonight, Steve.
No, it is not. You have a
No,
choice
you know what?
tonight.
I was going through the old beer fridge, and I found a beer that I was like, I don't know that we've actually done this beer. We did another one of these beers. Maybe we've done this one. I don't know. We're gonna do it again because I didn't go and get a new beer today because Lucas was playing all day. And by the way, his team was the lower seed today and won on penalty kicks. The two lower seeds in his fall league are through to the final.
Nice.
Both on penalty kicks. And I did tell my son that, like, if you do that stupid thing where you kind of half pause on your penalty kicks again, I'm going to lose it. I cannot stand that. I don't know where he learned that. But he steps up. He used to have a nice run up, right? Just a nice run up. He'd take a little step to the left and then come up at an angle. So like he had the ability to put the ball where he wanted to. Now he's like, he does this thing where he just kind of that brief pause. That's not really a pause. It drives me crazy. Anyway,
I totally understand.
It drives me nuts, but it's effective for him. He's been stopped one time that I can remember on his penalty kicks. But we're going to do another one.
Panenka.
The Panenka, yeah, he'll never do that. He used to practice his Rabonos back in the day. I remember that when he was real little. And I tried to do it and fell on my ass. I have a Moor beer. Moor, Moor. We did this before. We did one of their beers before. I don't know if I've done this one before, but I'm going to do it again. So the people that will remember this are probably Spencer. Spencer, by the way, I love the fact that Spencer listens to this podcast because he's a Liverpool fan.
He does? Wow.
How weird is that, right? I mean, he's a Liverpool fan. So thank you, Spencer. Adam might know. Wendy will probably know and maybe call me out for this, but this is Moor Bitter. It's 3.4 alcohol or percent alcohol by volume in 11.2 ounces. I don't know Why you Brits have your imperial pints, but you have these little tiny cans of beer? Look at this thing. My hands look giant. This little tiny
It's a
can of beer.
vegan beer.
Yeah, it is vegan. It's a naturally hazy and vegan friendly.
What is vegan friendly?
It's not made with any animal byproducts.
Is beer usually made with animal byproducts?
No.
Unless it's like, a honey ale or something,
I don't know. Speaking of beer, while I'm doing this, while I'm pouring this is a live beer.
I'll get the research department on it.
Yeah, all beers that this company makes, that this brewery makes, are naturally hazy, so they don't filter it. They're all live beers, which means like their beers are unpasteurized. They let the beer condition in the cans. None of the there's not any CO2 added in the process. They're just kind of brewed, fermented, and canned or bottled, and then they go in and they let the yeast do its work. So whatever carbonation, so it's naturally carbonated. It's basically just brewed and canned in like a home brewer would. This is 3.4% alcohol, which means you could drink a bunch of them. Look at how little tiny this can is. It's kind of cute. So let's get into this. Oh boy. I don't know if I'm gonna like this. It doesn't smell great.
Lactose is another one. That's if it's got lactose in it, that makes it not vegan.
That's true. That's true. So yes, this beer is hazy. It's unfiltered. There's obviously a bit of sediment at the bottom. Like I said, it's really low alcohol. It's probably not going. I don't have a good feeling about this, Steve.
Also, apparently, some European beers are strained through fish bladder.
That's interesting and weird.
Guinness used to do that up until 2016. Now they are vegan.
Oh boy.
I like this comments. I know you've got your oh boys going on, but this person has stated, as a Colorado resident, Coors is vegan. So,
oh, that's true.
Yeah, let's live. We got Coors.
Is the research department down? Have they done?
I've gone down a rabbit hole. Yeah.
Okay, so the research department is not looking at this beer in particular.
No, I'm just looking at veganism in beer. Not that it makes a difference to me, because
maybe International Break podcast will talk about veganism in beer. Steve, you would enjoy this beer.
Is that so?
I know you like your sours and your weird beers and shit, but
look like you're enjoying that.
Yeah, straight off the top, it reminds me, and I lived in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. So in my brewery, I played softball for this brewery. I was there all the time. Red Hook. And it reminds me of the Red Hook.
I remember them.
Yeah, remember the old school Red Hook ESB?
Yeah.
How fucking good that was. They had like one of the first IPAs too, that Longhammer IPA. This beer reminds me of that, except at 3.4. This beer is dangerous. This beer is good. Man, it tastes good. Product of the UK. So yeah, more brewing is in it won't tell me. Yeah, it is. Oh, it's in Bristol.
Bristol
Rovers. Which is also Bristol. Anyway, I like this beer a lot, Steve. A lot. If I could afford
my guess.
If I could afford to get more because it's imported and it's $5 a fucking can.
Thank you, Trump, and your stupid tariffs.
It's not. Listen, okay.
I'm still gonna blame him. You can't
Okay.
stop me.
I won't stop you. I can't stop. Won't stop. This beer is really good. Really, really, really good. Do you have your guess in?
Oh, I'm ready.
Things kids like. Low alcohol beer that tastes good. 4.3.
Oh, so close. I came in at 4.2.
Dude, it's so good. So good.
Yeah, we've got a Spindrift over here, the lime.
The lime, yeah, he's pounding it. Does it make you burp?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Burping is the best.
I only burped one time at the day.
There you go. Now Isaac is official member of the podcast.
Congratulations, bud. You've made it. You're in
You've
the big
made it.
times now.
What?
All right, yeah. So this has been Hey Mike, what you drinking?
4.3. Moore's Brewing?
Moor, Moor.
More Brewing. And it sounds like you could use some more beer.
I actually could. And before we completely end this segment, I need you to do something for me, Steve. I need you to go on Netflix and I need you to watch House of Guinness.
House of Guinness. Okay.
This show, I'm 3 episodes in. I watched 3 episodes last night. This show is good, man.
All
This
right,
show
I'll add
is
it to
good.
the list.
Add it to the list. I would say put it to the top of your list.
All right.
Cast
High
of
praise.
virtually unknowns, except for King Joffrey is in it.
Oh. Wow,
Mhm.
he's still around.
That kid, dude, that kid's a good actor.
He definitely
I say
is.
kid,
I
but
just thought he
he's
kind of
probably
gave up on
35.
it.
But yeah, good actor. The show is phenomenally done. So I would suggest looking that up and getting on that like ASAP.
Sounds good to me. And yeah, I guess that's officially been Hey Mike. Looking ahead, I mean, we're going into international break, which always gives me a bit of anxiety. I'm expecting somebody to, be completely destroyed in some meaningless game that, costs us several points throughout the course of the season. Hopefully we see some people come back from injury, maybe. That would be nice. We've had a couple that are kind of on the cusp, but I don't know, with the way that things have been going, it's just a minor thing usually turns into, okay, well, they've just had surgery and are now going to be out for an extended period of time. So I don't even know what to believe anymore. I'm just lost. How are you feeling going into internationals?
I don't know. Like, so yeah, it is one of those things. Like, I really think that when Romero is injured midweek, right, that we don't have him on the weekend going into an international break, and then he'll be fucking completely fine to play for his club, right? But it's one of those things where, somebody's going to go away, somebody's going to do something stupid, and they're going to have a hamstring injury, they're going to have a high ankle sprain, obviously injury and fitness management, timetable for people to come back, like all of this stuff is you have to think about, right? So like it gives guys like Dom Solanke who underwent like a minor surgery, it gives him the ability to work and not miss more games or more playing time. Randall Colomani, who is finally recovering from that dead leg, and obviously dead legs, that was like a thing that we used to do to each other when we were in grade school, right? You go and you put your knee into the side of somebody's leg and they crumble to the ground, right? you know?
And they miss, 3 weeks through injury for some reason.
Yeah, yeah. And next thing you know, your friends are not playing kickball at all, right? For 3 weeks. um, they're definitely not playing Foursquare for any reason. But like, I think it just gives guys time to recover who are injured. Kota Takai, I'm really excited to see him. I think that he's going to probably show up sometime in November for us. He might get a little run out there and maybe some cup games. Obviously the big injuries and surgeries. Dejan Kulisevsky, who apparently is coming along swimmingly, and James Madison, who we won't see until likely maybe not this season, which is unfortunate because I think that a guy like Javi Simons could learn a lot from Madison. So I think that, like, what I expect Frank and his team to go out there and manage conditioning, rehab all the minor injuries that we have. Get Kulimani back into the field, get him back into shape, get him a run out there, do some simulated games, that kind of stuff, simulated game situations. Like, these are the things that I don't think that, like, the medical team did under Ange, that I think that Thomas Frank, who is not just a manager in name, where he's like, I'm the head of the first team, a guy who cares about every single thing that goes on within his club. And I think to an extent, like, guys like Conte were like that. I think that Mourinho was like that. I think Pochettino had a big hand in bringing guys along and making sure that every aspect was covered. I think that the international break is good for that kind of shit. In the past, we've also known that international breaks are really good for injuries to happen. So I mean, I really think the guys that are gone away on international duty are going to go. They're going to play. We're not going to have a situation where Son is out there playing 120 minutes a game, and then coming back completely exhausted. I think that guys are going to get breaks. I don't think that it's going to be crazy for Romero. We have guys who will stay at the club. One, they'll rehab. Two, they'll work on tactical stuff and training, and they'll just get a nice reset. So I think that, I think they're going to get a lot of coaching. I really expect that there's going to be a lot of coaching going on for those guys who are not flying out and playing with their international teams. I guess I could have just said that instead of ramble.
Sometimes it's about the journey.
It is about the journey, and quite honestly, I think that the journey might be worth it, Steve. Sometimes.
Absolutely.
Ask Frodo. Was the journey worth it, Frodo?
Absolutely. And this journey is starting to come towards its end. So why don't we get into some final thoughts? And for me, I'm excited. I'm looking at the calendar for what happens after international break. And I, for the first time, get to go and visit a different supporters club. I will be in Denver, Colorado for the Monaco Champions League fixture. And I'm very excited to, potentially get out there and see the guys in Denver and meet some new Spurs fans.
How cool would that trip be, though? Go out to Monaco to see the game?
Oh, that would be sweet. I'm going to settle for Denver, but I'm really excited to get out there. I've heard lots of great things about the city, and it seems like the supporters group out there's really solid crew. So I'm excited to kind of get there and watch the game with them, and hopefully we come away with a win.
Cool.
never been to Denver before, so if anybody's got recommendations, feel free to, shoot them to our socials. And yeah, this should be a fun trip. I'm looking forward to it. What do you have for us, Mike?
I hear there are some breweries out there, Steve. So just
Coors, at least.
if you're going to, I'm just saying, if you're going to check a bag, maybe you're roll up a couple cans of beer and into some t-shirts and pack it neatly into your bag that you're checking and just send it back home with you. I'm just saying.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do.
Okay, very good, very good. So yeah, my final thoughts are that I like international breaks only for the fact that it allows guys to come back from injury. That's it. That's it on that front. But on the home front, looking at the situation and this is where everybody's gonna tune out and I think it'll be a good opportunity to talk about this maybe next week during the international break. Is the situation in the USL and the capital investment that came in for that organization. There's a lot of things that are going to happen. A billionaire came in and bought his way into the league itself, which encompasses 4 levels of soccer in this country, or 3 levels of soccer in this country, plus 2 levels of women's soccer in this country. So I think that I'm going to use my final thoughts as a jumping off point, because our own Vermont Green is part of this and will be part of the promotion and relegation next that's starting up next year in the USL, in the first league to introduce promotion and relegation into sport in the United States. So I think that I'm going to use this as a jumping off point for a subject that we can talk about next week. So if you want to tune in and learn more about the U.S. soccer system and how it works, and how it's going to work through the USL, which I think is it's a soccer fans, more of a soccer fans league than the MLS is. But I would love to have an entire show on that next week. So maybe we can do that, Steve.
Sounds like it'd be fun.
I think we have a great platform to kind of do that. I think it could be fun. And I think that it's important. It's an important thing to talk about, especially for fans of soccer in this country. You don't hear a lot about it outside of this country, about U.S. soccer outside of this country, and people have preconceived notions. So I would hope that we can use our platform here, going out to some of the European countries that, introduce them to what U.S. soccer is really about. And it's not about the MLS. It's not about what's happening in the MLS. It's about what's growing and what's building in the USL. And I think Brian from Rhode Island will bring a really good personal approach to talking about this through his fandom and being a season ticket holder for Rhode Island FC.
Think he'll bring us some souvenirs?
No. Well, he did. I have a couple of scarves that he got me in a winter hat.
Wow.
So.
Hasn't sent me anything. You think you know a guy.
That son of a bitch. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of it. I rambled there, but yeah. Other than that, Steve, Brian got your words wrong. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah, dude, he says the same thing. He says the same thing every single time you're not on and he is. And I say, what would Steve say? And he says the same thing. And it's F Arsenal. I
mean, I would say that, to be honest.
But he knows that he doesn't even know your house sigil enough to know your words. Steve, if I was to ask you, what are your final words for us tonight?
Coins, 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 coins.
And
Don't be an asshole. And Mike, what would you like to leave us on?
I would love to say that, guys, it's a crazy world out there. I just want everybody to go out there, tread lightly, be safe, protect your mental health, and for God's sakes, just talk to your neighbor. Just talk to him.
And
Oh, yeah. Tottenham Hotspur action. It's fantastic.